Alan Viard is the resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, a pro-business think tank here in Washington, D.C., and he focuses on federal tax and budget policy. And he explained to me why the rest of us should care about what corporations pay in taxes.
The public should care that we have a corporate tax system that is really broken and that nobody in Washington seems to be able to mobilize to do something about. Governments around the world, even left-wing governments, even socialist governments, are concluding that the corporate income tax is not a good way to raise revenue, and they're cutting back on that particular tax. Yet we, even though we're supposed to be a free market country, we really seem to be dragging our feet on that, and the gridlock is keeping anything from getting done.
Some people are saying that this is becoming more and more popular. Is it, or are we just reporting on it more?
No, it is becoming more popular, and it's not entirely clear why, but I think part of the reason is that companies have given up on the hope that comprehensive corporate tax reform is going to be adopted in the near term. Companies that might have been holding off, waiting for that, have decided that they should go ahead and start looking at this option. But you know, really the puzzle is why companies didn't do these things sooner, because it really would have been profitable for a lot of companies to do these inversion transactions long ago, and they really held off until recently.
And as for foreign countries around the world, isn't this just good competition? I mean, you're trying to bring in companies from around the world they all want their headquarters to be in their particular country, whether it's in Europe or Asia, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is just one aspect of tax competition. And if Congress did try to shut down inversions, you would just see other things taking its place. So, for example, you might force U.S. chartered companies to keep their U.S. charters, but you can't guarantee that they'll keep the business opportunities that they now have. Those could go to companies that have foreign charters. Or, for example, you could have new startups that think they may be multinational at some point in the future who say, why should I start with a U.S. charter? If I do, Congress may trap me into keeping it. I should just have a foreign charter from day one, and then I'm outside all these rules altogether. So I think it's kind of hard to stop this tax competition. You shut down one thing, other stuff takes its place.
We saw the movement Occupy Wall Street a few years ago. I mean, essentially one of the big issues was the fact that people weren't being treated fairly, and the 1% was getting away with a lot of tax deductions, and they weren't paying their fair share. In this particular case, this is about corporate America, if you will. Could consumers or could the general public and the citizens around say, wait a minute, I'm paying my fair share of taxes. Shouldn't the corporate giants be held to the same standard?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if there is any real consumer pressure that comes into play. When Walgreens was considering its inversion, which they decided not to do in the end, there were efforts to try to mobilize consumers against it. And you know, some people think that part of the reason Walgreens didn't go through with it was because they were concerned about how their customers would react. Yeah, I think it's any consumer's right to shop where they want and decide how they want to do these things. But I really think it's kind of silly to insist that a company that you're buying from pay more tax than it needs to.